beautiful vine tomatoes. The riper the tomatoes, the better the soup. Take the core out. Get your thumb and place it half a centimetre underneath the tip of your knife. Place it in, and then just twist round. That's the only part of the tomato that we're not using. Red onion and garlic. Red onion because it's sweeter than a white onion. Slice your onions and your garlic. Nice and fine. Traditionally, you'd be making it in a pot. It's so much better to start it off on top of the stove, searing the tomatoes and the garlic. When it goes in the oven, you actually roast the tomatoes and they don't stew, and there's a big difference in flavour. Be quite generous with the olive oil. It makes the soup nice and glossy, shiny. Salt, pepper, and then a little teaspoon of cayenne. Just gives it that heat, but it's not as fierce as chilli. Take your tomatoes and just slice them in half. And then a little touch of sugar. That's going to help intensify the sweetness. A little sprinkle of aged balsamic vinegar. It gives that nice, dark, rich acidity to the soup. Into the oven, 20-25 minutes, 180.
To make my soup even more irresistible, I'm going to make a punchy sun-dried tomato pesto to drizzle over the top.
Now, I'm making this in a pestle and mortar because you feel so much more in control and you're not depending on a blade that's whizzing around at 1,000 miles an hour.
Next, in a dry pan, toast off some pine nuts.
Toast them to the absolute max and then in. The smell in there is incredible. Parmesan, lightly grate that. And this is where it starts to become creamy. Extra virgin olive oil. Doesn't need salt because the Parmesan's going to season it for you. And just take a couple of tablespoons of the oil that the sun-dried tomatoes were in. Really helps to make that stunning pesto. I can smell those roasted tomatoes. Want them out? Wow.
Next, pour in a little vegetable stock or chicken stock so it sits halfway up the tomatoes.
Put your spoon through those tomatoes, they break up instantly. Bring that up to the boil, let it simmer for 3 or 4 minutes. I want to make it a little bit more creamy now. Cream in, give that a little stir. You can keep it rustic and you get your masher in, and you've got that nice, thick, rich, chunky tomato soup. Or get yourself a stick blender. Blitzing it like that, you deglaze the bottom of the pan and you get all those amazing flavours from the bottom. That's delicious.
To make my lunch extra hearty, I'm going to knock up a deliciously gutsy version of cheese on toast to go with my tomato soup.
Welsh rarebit, an absolute classic. I'm going to make a roux. 50 grams of butter, 3 nice tablespoons of flour. And that's all a roux is, basically. Traditionally, you would use flour, butter, and milk.
But in Welsh rarebit, the milk is often cheekily substituted for a stiff slug of stout.
Gives it that strong, gutsy flavour. I want it nice and thick. Make sure those lumps are out. A nice teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and then season it. Nice and spicy with Worcestershire sauce. Gives it that delicious, intriguing flavour. Now that smells amazing. Almost brings tears to your eyes. Beautiful. Now, Welsh rarebit wouldn't be a stunning Welsh rarebit without rich, mature cheese. So I'm going to grate Montgomery cheddar. Goes well with the beer. And drop that in. Really important to put this in while the roux is still nice and hot, because the cheese melts. Now, for the bread.
I prefer a good rustic country loaf that will stand up to my hardcore topping.
I want that nice crisp base to my Welsh rarebit, so toast it both sides. Spread that beautiful, cheesy, beery, spicy mixture. Just great. Got to blister and bubble and gratinate. God. A little splash. Alien Perry.
And back under the grill for 90 seconds.
In one delicious, creamy, roasted tomato soup. It's coming back to me all those days I had off school. I used to purposely lie about feeling ill just to get a bowl of my mother's tomato soup. How bad was that? but my God, it was worth it. Oh. Now, a Welsh rarebit. Look at those babies. That just takes cheese on toast to another level. Wow. Roasted, creamy tomato soup with a sun-dried tomato pesto, served with the most amazing, delicious Welsh rarebit. I feel like ringing in sick.
Start by seasoning the meat well. Brisket is a cut of beef from the breast. It's inexpensive, but it's fit for royalty with long, slow cooking. Place it into a hot casserole dish with a little olive oil and brown on all sides. Next, make a tasty broth to flavour the meat. Into the dish, add chopped carrots, celery, a whole bulb of garlic cut in half, peppercorns, aromatic cloves, and freshly ground nutmeg. Pour in hot water to braise the brisket. Bring to the boil and cover tightly. Then transfer the dish to a low oven and cook for 3 to 4 hours. Cooked low and slow, the results are amazing. Tender, melt-in-the-mouth meat. Fantastic with roast potatoes or in sandwiches with lots of mustard, but I like it best with tangy piccalilli. In the oven in under 10 minutes. Then all you have to do is sit back and wait. So easy and absolutely delicious. What's not to love about my succulent beef brisket?
First off, our spices. This is a fresh vanilla pod, fragrant and packed full of flavour. Use the back of the knife and flatten it. That removes all those little seeds off the skin of the vanilla pod. Take your knife, slice down the middle, and then when you open that up, the smell is incredible. Take the tip of the knife and you scrape inside, and look, all those seeds dying to come out. That is incredible. There are thousands of seeds still ingrained to the pod, so put them in to the casserole. Cardamom, powerful, spicy. Take 2 little pods, place your knife on top, and lightly crack them.
Cracking the cardamom pods helps release all the amazing flavour.
Cloves, gives it that kind of aniseed flavour with a lot of depth. 1, 2, 3. Cinnamon stick, snap and in. Just smelling that level of fragrance, you can imagine what the rice pudding is going to taste of. Turn on the heat, lightly toast those spices just a couple of seconds. And what's going to happen is just going to sort of enhance those spices in a way that it just draws out an even more powerful fragrance. Coconut milk in, sugar, 2 tablespoons. Milk, and then a couple of tablespoons of cream.
Bring it slowly to the boil to allow the flavours to infuse.
And this rice pudding reminds me of my time in India, where I got really into that chai tea fragrance because it was just so delicious and so comforting. Take a lime in. The lime just cuts through the richness of the coconut, gives it that nice little bit of acidity. Goes fantastically well with the cinnamon and that fresh vanilla. Nice. Have a taste. Now, let's come up to the boil. Give it a nice little clean round the outside and in with the rice.
Use 200 grams of pudding rice. Don't wash it beforehand because the starch helps thicken the rice pudding in the oven.
And just turn that down to a light simmer. And the pudding rice starts to open up and it absorbs all that coconut, vanilla, cardamom, clove and cinnamon. Bring it up to the boil gently and cook it out for 3 to 5 minutes. Boiling it rapidly, the rice opens up and it goes into mush, so we want to keep that nice texture, that sort of fragrant rice pudding on a gentle simmer.
Next, a little luxury.
I'm going to show you how I take this simple, delicious, aromatic rice pudding to a completely different level. Here's what I do. Take 2 egg yolks, separate them. Now give that a really nice whisk. Two nice tablespoons of mascarpone cheese. Whisk that into the egg yolks. just so it's nice and smooth. It's almost like finishing the rice pudding in a delicious custard. Turn off the gas, add that into the rice pudding. And what happens, it starts to enrich and really thicken this rice pudding and takes it to a completely different level. The rice is still not cooked, but it's starting to go nice and soft. You can just see how it's opening up. But look, it's like rich, aromatic lava bubbling away.
Finally, grate more citrus zest.
The lime on top. Roasted, caramelised lime zest on top of a rice pudding is phenomenal.
Then put it in the oven for 15 minutes at 200 degrees to finish cooking the rice and develop the intensely aromatic flavours.
Look at that. An incredibly fragrant rice pudding. How beautiful does that look?
Spices are a brilliant way of helping classic dishes come alive. I'll guarantee you'll never ever have had a rice pudding like this before.
Shepherd's pie, a great British classic. Absolutely delicious. Mince, vegetables, potatoes. Easy.
Olive oil. Minced lamb.
A little bit of colour on the mince, and it gets rid of that unwanted fat. Nothing worse than a greasy shepherd's pie.
Season. Grate. Onion. Carrot. Garlic.
Once the vegetables are grated in there, they disintegrate and almost puree, adding great flavour. And that's the secret behind a really good shepherd's pie. It's all in the mince.
Worcester sauce. Tomato puree. Red wine. Thyme. Rosemary.
Right, now the red wine's evaporated, chicken stock in. And cook it out for 3 or 4 minutes, no more than that.
Potatoes. Mash. Season. Egg yolks.
Now, the secret ingredient, Parmesan cheese. Be quite generous with the Parmesan because that's what gets it really nice and golden brown. That now deserves to sit on top of my mince. Good old-fashioned tip, just to keep my mum happy. Fork the top. 18 to 20 minutes in the oven. Beautiful. There, crispy topping. You can see what that deserves to be a great British classic.
Shepherd's pie, done.
First off, I'm going to make a really nice light caramel. Pan on, nice and low. Grate 2 apples. And this helps to almost sort of pure the apple so much quicker. There's a lot of flavour in the skin, so don't worry about peeling the fruit. Whether it's pears, plums, peaches, the flavour's in the skin. Nice. To start the caramel, a couple of tablespoons of sugar. The sugar helps to get rid of the tartness in the apple. A touch of cinnamon. That starts to make it a little spicy. Open up your vanilla and just scrape out all those seeds. Now this just makes it light and fragrant. All those seeds in to the sugar.
When making caramel, be patient and always swirl the dish instead of stirring it. When the sugar goes brown, add the apple.
That starts to sort of cool down the caramel, but it gives it a really nice sort of caramelised puree. Apple's almost disintegrating. Smells incredible. Turn the gas down. Slice up 2 apples. It's a crumble that's got no frills. Straightforward, no faffing around, no peeling of the skin. I want them to sort of stand out from the caramel. Apples in. Now those nice thick chunks of apple are sort of almost bedding itself into the puree. Dried cranberries gives it that nice sort of shock in the texture. Sweet and chewy. I want it to sort of taste zesty, spicy, so sit the lemon zest on top of your apples and cranberry. Fresh lemon juice over. And that just gives that extra acidic kick. Takes the cranberries, the apples, the caramel, and the cinnamon to another level. Turn the gas off. Just let that sit Let's concentrate on the crumble. Flour in. A couple of tablespoons of demerara sugar. Sugar helps to get the topping nice and crispy. Butter in. Give that a nice little sort of rub. What we're looking for is like a breadcrumb mixture. Lightly season it with a touch of cinnamon. And the demerara sugar sort of helps to get a nice fine crumble mix, and it stops the butter from sort of melting in that flour. So that's the basic crumble mix. But I'm not finished yet. Muesli. 2/3 crumble, 1/3 muesli. Mix that in.
If you haven't got muesli, then crunchy granola works brilliantly too.
Lovely. Now, start off in the center and work your way around. I want the crispiness on the top, the puree on the bottom with the caramel, and then the texture in the center. A good tip, turn the gas back on. I want it bubbling before it goes in the oven, because then you just got to cook the top. So as soon as you see that caramel starting to bubble down the side, in she goes. Let's go.
Bake at 200 degrees Celsius for 12 to 14 minutes until golden brown.
Smells amazing. Beautiful. Still bubbling. And look at it. A delicious but very simple crumble with apples at their absolute best. Beautiful.